There were too many in my generation, as there are in your own, who preferred the men to speak for us, and who would, even as their lives and livelihoods were trivialized and dismissed, insist that they had all the rights they needed. Family turned from us. Friends abandoned us. Doors were locked to us. An army marches on its stomach, and we never seem to have the funding necessary to complete our campaigns. When we could not see our way forward in the clear light of day, we stumbled forward in the dark. I traversed this nation proclaiming the right of equality and the duties of citizenship for American women. From crowded city lecture halls to tiny country churches, I spoke the truth as I understood it. In my speech entitled Our Girls, I demanded to know why, when girls may grow into the fullness of their womanhood, we have instead stunted their development. They have awakened to the fact that they belong to a subject, degraded, ostracized class, that to fill their man-appointed sphere, they can have no individual character, no life purpose, no personal freedom, aim, or ambition. They are simply to revolve around some man, to live only for him, to be fed, clothed, housed, guarded, and controlled by him. Never to know the freedom and dignity that are secured in self-dependence and self-support. As important as we understood the right to vote to be, we could not forget that it was merely a tool to secure our most basic human right, still denied to us: the right to stand on our own 2 feet as sovereigns of our own destinies. Many in my own generation did not want to hear this message. They preferred to lean rather than to stand. These precious few women, enjoying for a time anyway, the wealth and attention of their husbands and fathers, denied the rights of the many to protect the privileges of the few. They demanded but did not get my silence. When they could not silence me with ridicule, they tried flattery. Calling women angels, they begged us not to sully the purity that was ours alone. To those who tried this tactic, I said, I challenge your admiration, and moreover, claiming as I do a share in all her outrages and sufferings, in the cruel injustice, contempt, and ridicule now heaped upon her, in her deep degradation, hopelessness, wretchedness, by all that is helpless in her present condition, that is false in law and public sentiment, I urge your generous consideration. For as my heart swells with pride to behold woman in the highest walks of literature and art, it grows big enough to take in those who are bleeding in the dust. Mine was not an easy message, especially to those who preferred to accept the privileges of so-called angels rather than the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. And I would not reach across time to speak to you if I did not feel the time had fully come for the question of woman's wrongs to be laid before the public. Did I not believe that woman herself must do this work? For woman alone can understand the height, the depth, the length, and the breadth of her own degradation. Men cannot speak for her. Every rational being, every citizen must find a way to set fear aside to speak the truth. And I swear to you, my dear daughters, this is the truth. Whether or not the powers of the world acknowledge it, you are your brother's equals. Your joys and sorrows, duties and dreams are as great, and your obligation to answer to whatever power calls to you is as urgent. It is the deepest outrage, the most loathsome injustice to stand in the way of another soul's right to self-sovereignty. Do not accept it. In 1776, Abigail Adams told her husband to remember the ladies. He thought it a joke, and we waited 72 long years before we found the opportunity and the courage to stand together in Seneca Falls. It was another 72 years before my granddaughter's generation secured the right to vote. And since then, a century has unfolded, a century of working and fighting and daring for equal representation, for equal education, for equal opportunity, for equal pay. A century demanding the dignity of constitutionally protected citizenship that is our birthright.